So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining today. What is six the blessings of Radha Mata, Radha Damodar, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Gopal, Gaurita, Srila Prabhupada, and Guru Maharaj, the assembled devotees. So, we were at the point of where the two devatas were released from the curse they had obtained from Narad Muni of eating trees. Krishna released them and sent them back to this to the heavenly planets, after which they would go back to the spiritual world. And this is the verse that we read yesterday, but we can read it again. Riya?
Yes, friends. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.11.6 Ulu kalam vikarshantam damna vaddam swamatmajam vilokyananda prasar vadano vimutmocheha. Translation: When Nanda Maharaja saw his own son worn with ropes to the wooden motor and dragging it, he smiled and released Krishna from his box. Hare Krishna.
You. So, with the demigods gone, Krishna was now free to resume his role as cowherd boy, and he longed for his friends. Standing up to better see over the fallen trees, branches, he caught sight of them in the distance and signaled to them to come and play with him. The boys were now free from the invisible bonds and were reunited with their glorious friend, embracing them. So this is the personality of Prema. She dictates when somebody can enter a Leela and not enter a Leela. So the cowherd boys, they were stuck in their position because Krishna had to deal with the demigods. And now the demigods were free. So Prema, personality of Prema, let them loose. They came to see Krishna, reunite with Krishna. And they're there amongst the fallen branches and leaves. Krishna and the friends, they reunited again. They didn't know whether to cheer Krishna or to caution him. Wait till your mother sees your latest antics. And you think the mortal punishment was bad, she will tie you to the other trees and make you stay here overnight. So the boys were teasing Krishna, laughing at him. However, Krishna crossed his arms and said in defiance, I can pull mountains if I want to. And the boys laughed. Raising his voice, wait and see. Not only I move a mountain, I will also lift it. You wait and see. And he does, of course. Sridham says, we will wait for that day. Now tell us, who are those two beings you were talking to? The boys had seen what happened and described that to Krishna. However, Krishna tried to downplay his role in toppling the trees. Those boys, they could never hold a secret. He didn't trust them. Krishna said, there were spirits living in the trees who broke out of the trees when the curse was finished. The Gopas were not convinced, but Krishna changed the subject, started playing with the motor, a new game. So nothing is ordinary for Krishna. Everything is fresh and new and delightful. In the meantime, the Vijayabasis looked around to see what could have caused such a terrible noise. Sounded like thunder, but the sky was clear. Some gopis visiting from Raval came across Krishna, some gopas, I think, and his friends, playing amongst the fallen trees. And they reported this to Yashodamai. She thought the trees had fallen on Krishna. She fainted out of great anxiety. In her faint, mother was in a panic, was running towards Krishna to rescue him. But actually the ladies were trying to revive her. So she was thinking she was running towards Krishna. she'd actually fainted, and the ladies were trying to revive her. In the meantime, Nanda Maharaj had returned with Rohini and Balaram. Nanda Baba quickly headed towards the scene of a calamity. Perhaps a demon had attacked Krishna again. The Gopas took sticks as weapons. They were very protective of Krishna. And Nanda Baba, he was very worried. Some of the boys noticed the coward men coming and warned Krishna, "You're in real trouble now." Krishna told the boys to hide. The boys were giggling and with Krishna having great fun in this adventure. The cowherd men looked for Krishna, but not seeing him, they looked for demons or signs of demons like footprints, but nothing was found. At that time, Yashodamai and her friends arrived. She was frantic with worry. It is said that the force of the devotee's pure ecstasy can reach such heights as to neutralize Krishna's divinity. Sometimes she would get an inkling, he's God. He's more than an ordinary living entity. Maybe he's a great devata. But nothing would last too long because her love was so deep for Krishna. His divinity didn't matter. If he's God, he's God. Doesn't matter. He's still my son. With his mother present, Krishna was unable to remain hidden. He whispered to his friends, "Let us surprise them before they discover us." So Krishna and his friends started playing with mortar in the open. And when the Brijvasis saw them safe, they were elated. How did he appear so suddenly, especially as he was still struggling with the mortar? At first, the Brijvasis could not make the connection between Krishna, the mortar, and the trees. However, Yashodamai recognized the relationship between the three. She thought to herself, what if the trees had fallen on Krishna? She was speechless and immobile. When her husband and the others rushed to Krishna, Yashodamai remained where she was, fighting to see through her tears. She was embarrassed. Meanwhile, they worked out that the mortar was the cause of the toppling of the trees. They were perplexed, especially as Krishna was still tied to the mortar. So they knew there was something going on here. The trees had fallen. There was no demons around. Krishna was there, but he was tied to the mortar. Then they worked it out. Hang on. Krishna could have been crushed and killed. No doubt Lord Narayan had protected him once again. Nanda Baba was contemplating how these two powerful trees snapped at their base like twigs. Now, trees are not easy to break. You have a storm of 100 miles an hour, maybe more. You might see a tree, but even then, it wouldn't burst. It wouldn't snap at the base. The base is very, very strong. Anyway, they snapped at the base like twigs. His brother Nandananda suggested, as the children were with Krishna all along, they may know what happened. The Brijvasis looked at the children, who were just as perplexed as the adults. But unlike the adults, the boys were not bewildered by the mystery of who felled the trees, but by the sweetness of Damodar. They knew that remarkable things happened, and they spoke up. It was Krishna, he did it. They shared the pastime. Krishna was dragging the mortar between the two trees, which then crashed to the ground. Demigods came out of the trees, prayed to Krishna, and then left, flying to heaven. What an absurd story. The men would not believe the children, but at least there was some kind of explanation. After his friend's disclosure of the truth of the events, Krishna was a little concerned that the men may give thought to his supernatural human powers and show reverence towards him. To offset such a possibility, Krishna applied his talents to childhood play, tugging at the motor, making grunting sounds and showing irritation and not being able to move it so easily. Observing Krishna's activities, the men said to each other, what fertile imagination these boys have. What stories will they not make up to glorify their friend? Nand Baba moved closer to his son. This was his first entrance into this Leela. Krishna was a little reserved, fearing further punishment. But Nand Baba's first concern was for his son's well-being. Seeing the boy playing with his new toy, the motor, Nand Baba inferred that Krishna was unhurt. Affectionately running his hands over Krishna's every limb, he confirmed that his son was unscathed. When Krishna moved the motor a little, his chest swelled with pride at his extraordinary son. So Nand Baba, of course, again, same as Yashoda Mai, they knew Krishna was special. Even he was God. But Nand Baba's mood was also, he's my son, he's my baby. And he would become very proud that his son was able to achieve anything, any small thing. Although he had no doubts about the extent of his wife's love for their son, Nand Baba was surprised at the punishment that his wife had imposed on Krishna. Firstly binding him, then leaving him alone without thinking of the dangerous consequences. That was negligence. Of course, Yashoda Mai had ample reason to do what she did, because she wanted to teach their son, how to behave properly. He wasn't in the category of Ram. Ram behaved. Ram never got told off. But Krishna, he got told off. But he loved it. He loved that interaction with his parents in love. Just chastisement of mother. He loved that more than the Vedic hymns or Purusha Shukta or the recitation of the scriptures by the Brahmins. This chastisement was very relishable for him. Anyway, Nand Baba was a little disturbed. However, more than anyone else, he understood and revered Yashoda Mai as the perfect mother. In their parenting, she was stricter. He was a permissive, doting father. So usually you have this mother, father. One is strict, the other is lenient. Good cop, bad cop. So the child doesn't feel too intimidated, nor be too naughty. It's a perfect parenthood. To encourage Krishna, Nand Baba smiled at him to reassure him that he won't be punished. His father's reassuring countenance eased Krishna's mind, and he smiled widely in return. His father was not upset, even though he had been so naughty. Casting mildly reproaching glance at his wife, Nand Baba leaned over the motor to untie his son. But before doing so, he looked back at Yashoda Mai as if to ask, may I? Except for Yashoda Mai, no yogi, no jnani, no bhakta, how competent, had authority to bind the Supreme Lord to a motor. And only one who was her equal, Nanda Baba, was qualified to free Krishna from the chains. But even then, only with her permission. This is the strength of the mother, especially Yashoda Mai. Her love is so deep. Yashodamai replied with a faint but anxious smile. Yes. With this empowerment, Nanda first untied the rope binding the mortar, and then he turned to Krishna and he untied the rope from Krishna's waist, repeatedly chanting, Govinda Damodar Madhav, Govinda Damodar Madhav. So he got also wind of the name Damodar, and he started chanting that. So this name is a very delightful name, Damodar. So I wanted to stop there and we'll continue tomorrow. Any questions, any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Nanivan.
Another very nice session.
Thank
Now, two things. One is that Krishna, he can fool anybody, isn't it? He can, by his action, by his deed, by his yogmaya, he can fool people around him, what he did. And second thing is that Nand Baba, he didn't think that Krishna may have done some mischief and that's why Yashoda Maya punished him like this. He didn't think like that at all.
No, he did. He knew Krishna
did.
had done something. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
he did. Okay.
Yes. But I think it was the extent of the punishment which surprised him.
Okay.
Because he, she never tied him up or left him alone after being tied up. That was a little bit, much more than he expected, actually. Normally, she'd give him a telling off. Perhaps at the most, she may raise her hand. That was it. That was the extent of, and Krishna would listen because Yashodamai was so powerful. So I think that's the extent of what he saw from Yashodamai's chastisement. But now he was seeing a different category of chastisement. She'd actually tied him up. So that surprised him. But he knew he'd been naughty because and that was Krishna's nature. But he was always very tolerant. Krishna's naughtiness, he would overlook it. Yashodamai would correct him, but he would always overlook it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, we can stop there. Shri Damodar ki jai, Nanda Baba ki jai, Yashodamai ki jai.